Entwicklung. Siehst du Emmo durchaus in der Lage, auch jetzt im Quali, wenn es darum geht, die Stars wie Mansell...
Saying these are real racing cars, and my goodness, they are real racing drivers too. Leading out onto the circuit, Emerson Fittipaldi, fastest in the 1 hour practice sessions we've had today. There is Hans Stuck, the German, who is a past world champion in sports car racing, 4th fastest in the sessions that we've had so far today. The cars are identical to the extent that they are all ballasted up to a figure of 702 kilograms for the car and the driver. That is to make sure that none of the drivers have got an unfair advantage, even Derek Warwick there, who's getting into his car. The only difference you'll see in the cars is that the liveries are different. Derek was 3rd fastest in the sessions we've had so far.
Yeah, he's been quick all weekend, and of course he's been keeping fit. Surprisingly, he's been keeping fit ever since he ceased Formula One. Unlike a lot of the other guys, he's lapping it up. All the drivers are loving these cars. They're so fine to drive, and he's been fast all weekend, and it's going to be a battle tomorrow to see who just can last the distance, because it's going to be very hot and very tough with the G-forces.
In this 1 hour session, they are allowed a maximum of 15 laps. Now let's have a look at how Emerson Fittipaldi copes with it. This man is 58 years old. It's a long time since he's driven in a competitive single-seater. He had a most appalling crash some years ago at Michigan, one of the circuits in America. He's got 14 bolts in his spine, and he had a big psychological problem to decide whether he was going to take part in this series. He said he broke through the psychological barrier, and he's really, really, really up for it. He's faster than Nigel Mansell. He's faster than Derek Warwick. But the thing that surprised us all, perhaps incorrectly, was that next to Emerson Fittipaldi, the 2nd fastest has been the German driver Christian Danner, the ex-Formula 3000 champion, and he's been putting in some really scintillating laps.
This is quite amazing. I think everybody totally underrated him, but for him it's a great chance to prove that when he had his Formula One chances, he just wasn't in the right team, and we certainly know that. And these guys are all in equal cars, so you're really seeing the guys at their best. It's absolutely fabulous. Nigel Mansell, in fact, was right behind Fittipaldi. He's actually gone in the pits. Fittipaldi is on a timed lap at this moment.
Now, in this series, just as in other single-seater series, tyres are going to be critical. Avon are the tyre supplier. They are all slicks on this dry surface. They are allowed 4 sets for the whole meeting, and they'll be out on new ones for this qualifying session because they can go significantly quicker. The target time that they're aiming for at the moment to be quickest of all is 1 minute 34.259 put up by Emerson Fittipaldi, and we're still waiting for it to come round to complete the lap. This is the first lap that we're going to have a complete lap time for as the Brazilian crosses the line in 1 minute 37.123. That is 3 seconds slower than he went this morning, but it's early days yet.
Yes, and one would assume he's on tyres that he ran before, and he's keeping his 2 new sets so he can get out there and run them, having settled in, got the car, the brakes up to temperature, and really been satisfied with the actual handling, because remember, it's 3 hours since they had practice, and of course temperatures changed handling.
Well, it's all happening already, because in a virtually identical car in terms of livery, Eddie Cheever, the American driver who's come back to this type of racing, having driven for Renault in Formula One and many other teams as well, has gone fastest while Emerson Fittipaldi was out. This circuit is broken up into 3 sectors, each of which are individually timed. There's Nigel. He's obviously had enough for the time being. Helmet off. That's his wife Roseanne in the background, and his daughter Chloe and his son Greg are both here as we ride with Stefan Johansson from Sweden, ex-works driver for McLaren, ex-works driver for Ferrari. He's never actually won a Grand Prix in his career, but he's, I have to say, a hot favourite for tomorrow. Because what is going to decide tomorrow's race is going to be your age, your fitness, your experience and your determination. And Fittipaldi is now going quicker. He's gone quicker in the first sector. He's gone quicker in the second sector. And you can see the sector times along the bottom on the graphic there. Back to Stefan Johansson. Now this is the last bend on the circuit. Out of the left-hander at Bungee into the Vodacom straight, over the line to complete the lap. And Stefan Johansson goes third fastest. Now, we've still, in this 45-minute session, we're 6 minutes into it at the present moment. Emerson Fittipaldi started off going fastest, 1:27.123. Then it was Eddie Cheever. Now it's Emerson Fittipaldi back again. And Jan Lammers, the Dutchman, in the LG car there, is out on the track. And he's another man who's right up to racing speed these days, because he's a young man, he's very small, he's very light, so he's carrying a lot of ballast. 48 years old, ex-Le Mans 24-hour race winner, double world champion in sports car racing, and Jan has got age and weight on his side.
And of course he's currently racing a lot of very competitive cars. He was racing for the Dutch team in another series just last weekend in Australia, so he's used to this sort of car, and isn't that an advantage?
And this sort of car, the drivers here at Kyalami are literally raving about. They're all getting out and saying this is a real racing car, it's a lot quicker than we expected, but most importantly it has been absolutely reliable. And one of the incredible things about this GP Masters series is that 4 months ago the car design had not yet even been started. And Nick Carpenter, the man who's put these cars together in design terms for Delta Motorsports, has done a quite incredible job. There are all sorts of people from Formula One's past here. Les Jones, who used to be with Williams, is the chief mechanic here, for instance. And it's a microcosm of Formula One with older people at the wheel. Now Hans Stuck, that's the man we're watching with that distinctive helmet of his, with the BMW roundel in the middle, because he is a BMW works driver in touring cars to this day, notwithstanding the fact that he's 54 years old. And I was at a meeting in Munich recently, and I said to him, what are you doing these days? And he said, thinking of ways to beat everybody in GP Masters.
Lammers popped up to second place there, look, Murray. What a great time for him. That's by far the best time he's done this week.
Yep, there are all sorts of dark horses, if I can put it this way, in this event. Stefan Johansson is certainly one of them. Jan Lammers is another. They're both current racers. But Derek Warwick has to be watched, and we're watching him now. That blue helmet that we are so used to. And Derek is hyper fit. He lives in Jersey. He's been going to the gym. The thing to remember about these people is that they are racing drivers. They want to win. This is fun, and they're having the most colossal fun. And it's been wonderful seeing these people who, in the past, talked to each other very little because they were in different teams and they didn't want to give anything away, and they were working for sponsors, and they got in an aeroplane and all sorts of things. But here today, all 15 cars are in the same garage, the drivers are all staying in the same hotel, they're talking to each other, they're eating with each other. The atmosphere is fantastic.
It really is. I mean, because there isn't the political pressure on them that there has been during their career, and suddenly after all this time somebody says we're going to make a seniors tour, and they absolutely lap it up. I mean, what more could they wish for? And I think a lot of them were apprehensive, particularly Emerson Fittipaldi. And of course they get in the car and they get out with the biggest grin on their face you've ever seen. I spoke to Hans Stuck when he got out after the first practice here, and in German he said it's just like being in heaven.
Well, Derek, they were asked, we're still watching Derek Warwick, who is well round the lap with 35 minutes left in the session. It's going to be a long hot race tomorrow because it's a 50-minute race. And don't forget, these drivers have not raced single-seaters, without exception, for a very long time. They may be fitter than they've been for a long time, but are they going to be race fit for a full 50 minutes? This is a demanding circuit to race on.
Yes, and I think we mustn't forget that, of course, as far as the race is concerned, nobody's done 35 laps yet in any form at all. So we don't know how the cars are going to handle 35 laps.
And down in the pits is Amanda Stratton.
Now I'm I'm joined here by Alan Jones. Alan, it is such a shame that you've had to pull out this weekend. Just tell us the story about what's happened.
Well, I mean, I came here with some previous worries about lower back. Didn't even give any thought about my neck. But I've obviously aggravated an old injury at the base of my neck, and every time I go out in the car, because of the unusual seating position, well, the seating position's not unusual, it's unusual for me. And it's I'm just aggravating a muscle every time I go out. And the chief medical guy said that I'm better off not to go out in the car because I'll just do more damage to it. So it's a shame because it's a long way to come and watch other guys having fun. But I'd rather go home and concentrate and get it really well done and then look forward to the next one.
So we're definitely going to see you back there in 2006.
I hope so, because I think it's a fabulous series, and the cars are great to drive, and it's good being here with all the old mates and what have you, and I'm really peeved off that I'm standing here talking to you as much as you're very pretty. I'd rather be in the car having fun, but I can't help it, unfortunately, and I feel sorry for the mechanics because they're a great bunch of guys. The cars are terrific. It's a great concept, and I'm just peeved off I can't be a part of it.
Well, you and many of your fans. Alan, it's great to see you anyway. Thank you.
Well, and understandably downcast, Alan Jones is the world champion of 1980 driving for Williams. A wonderful character. A lot of them are great characters here. But the surprise of the moment, although perhaps not so much of a surprise after this morning, is the man that you're looking at now has gone fastest, and it's Christian Danner, 47 years old, the Formula 3000 champion of the past. Now, we've always known that Christian was good, but maybe he just hasn't been in a car that's good enough to show us how good he is.
Without a doubt, he just has never been in a good one. A lot of drivers have that situation in their career, wrong place, wrong time. But here he is showing himself out there to be a great talent. I mean, he's gone out nearly every session and put in superb times, and very calm about it, very fit, and of course very dedicated.
Yeah, and of course Christian Danner would love to win so very, very much. There are top people here like Nigel Mansell, Stefan Johansson, Riccardo Patrese, Nigel Mansell's old teammate, Emerson Fittipaldi that I have already talked about, Warwick, Patrick Tambay, Jacques Laffite, René Arnoux, great names from the past. And Danner has never been right up there. The best finish he's ever had in a Grand Prix was a single fourth position place. But he is now topping the times as Hans Stuck waits to go out. And we have got 32 minutes to go. The fastest lap so far is 1 minute 34.1 seconds. That was done this morning by Emerson Fittipaldi. And off goes Danner.
I guess he's reached the limit, Murray. Somebody said they'd find out. I just want to say one thing. What is remarkable and shows the talent and the commitment of these guys, not one person has been off the track. That is the first time this weekend in 4 days.
Well, you're right. He's found the limit. And flying now is Andrea de Cesaris. Another surprise, because de Cesaris, who in his Formula 1 days as Red 5 goes out. Nigel Mansell. De Cesaris was known in his Formula 1 days rather unkindly as Andrea de Crasheris, because he wrote so many motor cars off. But he's another young man in terms of the Grand Prix Masters. He's only 47 years old. We're riding with him now. He is also hyper fit, because although he hadn't driven a single-seater for 11 years until the GP Masters test at Silverstone, he was fastest at Silverstone. He's fit because he spends most of his time surfing, and he has gone fastest. We've got a new name at the top of the times board, Andrea de Cesaris, 1 minute 34.087. Now, we got under the 1 minute 35s this morning. Are we going to get under the 1 minute 34s this afternoon?
Which was remarkable, the way when you think they started 3 days ago lapping in 1 minute 40, and we all thought, they're all saying, I don't know if we can go much faster. Here they are, just getting better laps, better times every time they go out. It'll be interesting to see just what Nigel can do.
30 minutes to go. De Cesaris fastest, Danner second. So Italy tops the leaderboard. Germany is second. Warwick is third. Emerson Fittipaldi, who was fastest, is now fourth. That is Stefan Johansson from Sweden. Another comparatively young man. car number 2. He's 49 years old. And of course he's a previous Formula 3 champion of Britain, went on to Formula 1, drove for McLaren, drove for Ferrari, never won a Grand Prix, but he was on the podium 12 times in his career. And he is no slouch because he's still racing from time to time in America, keeping race fit and of course, very crafty indeed.
In fact, of course, racing at Le Mans quite significantly with the Audi team, doing a magnificent job there. Races a lot in the States and, of course, has his own team. Very competitive man. And, of course, knows this type of car well.
But is this the man? Nigel Mansell, red 5, is on a flyer. He's just done the fastest first sector in this 2.64 mile lap. And he said to me, I had lunch with him, and he said to me, I'm going to go for it this afternoon, Murray, and it looks as though he is going for it. Follow this. See those lights flashing at the top of the steering wheel? Those are gearbox change lights. When the green changes, and Nigel will flick one of the paddles under the left and right sides of the steering wheel to change gear. And look at those sector times, 22.960, 40.459. This is a very quick lap. It's the fastest one that Nigel has done. The target at the present moment is 1 minute 33.998 by Emerson Fittipaldi. There's a double world champion heading the times board. Is he going to be a single world champion of 1992? Nigel Mansell will soon know the answer. And the answer is yes! Nigel Mansell goes fastest with 28 minutes to go. 1 minute 22.960, and that is 0.2 of a second faster than Emerson Fittipaldi. It is close.
That is absolutely remarkable. He just goes out and does that one lap. Amazing he didn't really leave it to the end, but he did that just yesterday afternoon, got the time on the last lap. Maybe he'll have to do it again yet. A lot of chaps are going to go faster.
Well, this is an indication of skill. I say again, the cars are identical. They've all got these 650 horsepower Cosworth V8 engines, which were originally designed to be used with turbochargers in American racing. They've got a colossal amount of grunt. They are lightweight cars. Derek Warwick is gloomily watching. And, well, who is South Africa's only world champion? Jody Scheckter, and here he is.
Yes, I'm down here now with Jody Scheckter. Jody, it seems a terrible shame to have the inaugural race of Grand Prix Masters here at South Africa and not have you in a car.
Well, I'm an organic farmer, so I didn't feel like I wanted to do it. I suppose I'm too young or too old, I don't know.
Now, I was talking to you a little bit earlier on, and you said that in order to make the decision, which is a huge decision, to come out of retirement to get back into the racing car, you need a good few months' worth of preparation. May we see a few months of preparation between now and the next race? Do you think it's an absolute never say never, or is it possible?
No, I never say never, but I'm so involved in what I'm doing with organic farming that I can't take off three months to start getting into this. I don't know. You got to be ready for it in your stage of life. So I'm not ready for it.
Now, what do you make of this championship anyway?
Well, I find it very interesting because you've always seen the Masters in golf and tennis, and I never ever thought it would happen in racing. And I thought when I first retired, it would be nice to see something like that. So it's quite interesting to observe and see how some people are doing and some people are not doing.
Well, Jody, it's great to see you, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks.
Jody Scheckter as laid back as ever, and meantime Nigel Mansell has knocked another 0.4 of a second off his own fastest time. I said, are we going to see 1 minute 34 broken? I'm beginning to wonder if we're going to see 1 minute 33 broken, because Nigel's just gone round in 1 minute 33.428 as we look at René Arnoux, the Frenchman, ex-Renault Works driver with Alain Prost, ex-Ferrari Works driver, and he's a man who's won 7 Grand Prix in his very considerable career, because he drove in 149 of them. And he's just as ebullient, he's just as chirpy, he's just as much French fun as he ever was. And Derek Warwick now is in 5th position. Going a bit grey is Derek.
And he's also taken his helmet off, Murray, which isn't a good sign. He was watching the laps there with his helmet on. He's taken it off as if he's resigned to 5th place. And when you think about it, it's not a bad idea.
Well, no, it's going to be a long race tomorrow, and the question, Derek, and you can answer this much better than I can, is that given that this is a very difficult circuit, how difficult is it to get past people?
Well, there isn't too many opportunities. It was more easy on the old circuit, one has to say, but of course there are a couple of spots, and these guys are professionals, and I don't think they're going to make sort of do or dive efforts because they're not desperate to become world champion anymore.
Now, you may wonder why Jacques Laffite is just sitting there looking all relaxed. I promise you he is anything but. He's the oldest driver in the event, incidentally, 62 years old. But Jacques, all his career, has had problems getting seats to fit him properly. And they've made heaven knows how many of them here at Kyalami, but he's still not completely happy. And so what is happening is that René Arnoux is going to go out and qualify, as he is doing now. He's in 8th fastest place. And then he's going to come in, and Jacques Laffite is going to take his seat over. They're both French, they're both similar sizes, they are both very different people.
The way I look at it is that, in fact, I don't care what seat you've got, as long as you can touch the pedals, you can go out and at least have a go and get one lap in, even if it's very painful. You obviously couldn't do the race, so he has to work on it for tomorrow. But his seat is being made, but it takes 4 hours to cure, Murray.
Derek, you're eligible for this. It's lovely having you here, but I can see you going on this track very quickly. Would you like to?
Oh, I'd love to, but I love working with you, Murray. I mean, who wouldn't?
But anyway, we're 23 minutes to go. And Nigel, all these people have got to win. They're racing drivers. When the lights go out, the red mist comes down, and they want to go and win. Derek came into the commentary box, and he said that some of the drivers have even got their race settings taped up on the cars so that the other drivers can't see what they are. There's very few adjustments that you can make on this car. You can't make major ones because they want to keep the cars the same so that driving skill is the parameter. But you can make individual changes to some aspects of the aerodynamics and the suspension systems to suit your own style.
And I think that's the point, Murray, is that you can't get 14 drivers of this like that actually have the same style of driving, the same way they want a car set up, and so they have to adjust them.
Must tell you this about Eliseo Salazar, the Chilean driver there, who is sitting in the car that Alan Jones, wow, Hans Stuck getting it well out of shape. And slick tyres, of course. What something we haven't told you is that these 650 horsepower rocket ships do not, unlike Formula One cars, have traction control. The grip between the rear wheels and the 650 horsepower is controlled by the driver's right foot, not by a computer, not by electronics. So they get out of shape, they get very spectacular, and you have to see the driver fighting to recover control. Now you watch Hans Stuck, and I will tell you about Eliseo Salazar so that you'll be up to speed when he goes out. 51 years old, comes from Chile, and his claim to fame, I regret to say, is that he got in the way of Nelson Piquet in the Brabham at the Hockenheim ring at the chicane, and took Nelson Piquet off. Piquet got out, and they had well, I was going to say they had a fight. They didn't have a fight on the circuit. Nelson Piquet lashed out at him, and I'm told that they are now the best of friends, and we'll hope to see Eliseo out soon. We've had 14 drivers on the track, 1 to go. Mansell has only done 4 laps out of the 15 that he's allowed in this qualifying session. Emerson Fittipaldi, on the other hand, has done 9. So they do laps, Derek. They come into the pits, and what do?
Well, they're going to sit there, maybe make a minor adjustment, but remember, when they put those new tyres on, because they've all got 2 sets, and not everybody would have put them on at the beginning, then, of course, put new ones on, and there is always a discrepancy between sets of tyres. So, in a way, it's a bit of a gamble, and they put a new set on, and this is when they'll be using them, though, is this next run.
You're watching Christian Danner, or Christmas Dinner as he used to be known to his mechanics when he was in Formula One, and the car got badly out of shape there. I think Christian has not only found his limit once, but he's nearly found it a few more times as well. But meantime, with 20 minutes to go, it's still Nigel Mansell at the top. It's still Emerson Fittipaldi second. They are going to start, incidentally, 2 by 2 on the starting grid, and it is a rolling start here at Kyalami tomorrow.
We look at Jan Lammers, he's right up there in third place. That's a very, very good time for him. You consider he never really did that much F1, and he's up there with some real class acts.
It's no surprise to see Mansell at the top. It is a very pleasant surprise to see Emerson Fittipaldi up there in second position, because although no one in their right mind would ever doubt the skill of this brilliant Brazilian, he's been a long time gone in terms of single-seater racing. Jan Lammers, well, I'm not surprised to see him up there. Andrea de Cesaris is in fourth position. Dana is fifth. Derek Warwick is sixth. Riccardo Patrese is in seventh position, and Hans Stuck is eighth. That's Riccardo Patrese back in a single-seater.
Patrese's been very, very calm and cool the whole weekend. He said yesterday, I'm used to only 1 horsepower with 4 legs in the last 10 years, and here he is, of course, out there with 620. He's very, very much into show jumping along with his family.
Also a great collector of watches and a model railway enthusiast. Not many people know that. As Nigel Mansell gets out of the car, 4 laps completed. Well, this is a bit of a demonstration of mastery, isn't it?
This was called deja vu.
Not all the. I mean, he's done 4 laps. He's got 11 laps left. He went out on a new set of tyres, and he's probably hardly scuffed them.
No, he's always in there ready to attack again if he has to, or to defend. Remember, Emerson's a half a second behind. When you get to this sort of times, Murray, it's not easy to find half a second.
Well, let's just assume things stay roughly like they are. And tomorrow, fitness will come into the equation. Oh, Nigel is hyper fit. He owns Woodbury Park Golf Course down near Exeter. He's a fantastic golfer. His son, Greg, incidentally, plays off 1, would you believe? So Mansell's a hot favourite. Emerson Fittipaldi, well, you have to wonder about his race fitness for... That's Greg Mansell in the pink T-shirt. You have to wonder about Emerson Fittipaldi's race fitness over 50 minutes. Jan Lammers, third fastest at the present moment. He's fit. So is Andrea de Cesaris, who is fourth fastest. Christian Dana, yeah, there's a lot of Christian Dana. He's 6'4", but he's lanky, he's lean, he's ready, and so is Derek Warwick. Well, it looks as though we're in for a real race tomorrow. Is there a reliability issue with the cars? Well, there hasn't been hardly been any problems. At the Silverstone test, they had a starter ring go on Nigel Mansell's car. That's hardly a disaster. Emerson Fittipaldi had to have a fuel pump replaced here. That's hardly a disaster. Jacques Laffite had to have an engine change simply because there was an electronics problem. And, well, here's the way the fastest laps have gone so far. Emerson Fittipaldi went out early and obviously put up the fastest time. Then it was Eddie Cheever, and Eddie Cheever has slipped right down to 11th position at the moment. Now you're watching Eliseo Salazar. Remember what I told you about him, and don't underestimate him. He went much quicker in the practice session this morning than we expected, and he's had some really good performances in American racing.
And let's not just forget, of course, he's actually changed cars for this afternoon. He was in a blue car, which he started to set up having missed 2 days of practice. And then he's now actually replacing Alan Jones's car for various reasons. Obviously, the sponsorship on Alan's car is very important to the whole program. So he's had to get out and set that up during this session. That isn't easy, and we all drivers know that the level of standard of driving is so high that if you actually miss out on a session or 2 sessions, you're always 2 sessions behind. So the fact that he can actually get in the 36s basically in his first session is remarkable, and you consider it took the others a couple of days to get there.
How would these drivers, whose ages range from 46 to 62, go in the same cars in comparison with, say, Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen, today's top drivers? That's a good question that was asked of Derek Warwick. And Derek said, I honestly, genuinely believe that in these cars, which today's drivers will not be used to, of course, with very different control systems, the fastest of us would be as quick as the fastest of them. He said, I even think that some of us could go quicker. And I don't think that was wild optimism, do you?
I don't at all. All I will say, though, is if these guys try to get in the current Formula One cars, they would take a lot longer to get up to speed, as we see that when Villeneuve came to Europe and went to Williams, they gave him a whole winter of like 20,000 miles testing to get down up to speed and comfort level.
Mansell still fastest, Fittipaldi still second, Patrese third, Lammers is fourth, de Cesaris is fifth, and Warwick is in sixth place. Something else we haven't told you that is unique about this series, and I like it, is that all the drivers have access to all the telemetry of all the others. They can see that Mansell's done a quick lap, and they can ask to see his telemetry to see where he was quicker than they were, so that they know what they've got to do about it. Well, René Arnoux, don't forget that René Arnoux is going to come in that yellow and mauve car that he is in, and give his seat up to Jacques Laffite, who is actually in the pit at the moment. Jacques Laffite has been out and done 2 laps.
Well, actually, there isn't much time left. There's only 15 minutes. You'd better get in and get that seat changed over, as the camaraderie amongst the Francais won't be too special.
In Formula One, normally, the difference between the fastest time for pole position and the slowest time is of the order of 5 seconds. And coincidentally, it is exactly the same here. Nigel Mansell, fastest, 1 minute 33.4. Jacques Laffite, slowest, 1 minute 38.8. The difference, 5.4 seconds. Just think of how short a time period 5.4 seconds is over a 2.64 lap. 2.64 mile lap.
Rather naively, Laffite must have gone out in something. Maybe he went out in his own car with the old seat, because he's got 2 laps.
Well, there he is anyway. Jacques Laffite on the right, the ebullient Frenchman, spent most of his Grand Prix career in the Ligier team, but he also drove for Frank Williams, originally in the ISO and then in the Williams team. Riccardo Patrese's daughter, who is a brilliantly gifted horsewoman, incidentally. They're a very, very sporty and talented family. And a lovely bloke, Riccardo Patrese. 12 minutes to go, 12 and a half minutes to go to the final make-up of the grid for the first ever Grand Prix Masters to be held here at Kyalami in South Africa, where, as I said earlier, a massive crowd is expected. South Africa is passionate about Formula One and motor racing, and it's hungry to see some top single-seater racing, and that's exactly what I reckon they're going to see tomorrow. Ride with Riccardo!
As he's coming down to the very, very fast 160 mile an hour left-hander downhill, tricky corner. There he goes, into the bull corner as it's called. Uphill slightly, flicks it in very slow second gear chicane. Look how low the revs are, and I think he's going to come in the pits, so we're not going to see him really accelerate out of there.
Riccardo said to me yesterday, I think they've got it the wrong way round, Murray. He said, we old boys ought to have the modern cars with all the electronics which do it for the driver. He said the young drivers of today should have these cars which are harder to drive, and they are hard to drive. As I told you, an 1100 brake horsepower per tonne power to weight ratio, slick tyres. Look at the hands device, that's head and neck support. That is something that was pioneered by Professor Sid Watkins in Formula One, and it's to prevent whiplash. The head and neck support is literally strapped to the helmet. You can see the retaining screws there, and it saved many a nasty accident.
And a lot of these drivers, of course, have never had to use a hands device. Nigel certainly. Many of them haven't. Obviously, Stucky and various of the drivers that are still racing were obliged to wear them. But it's a very strange feeling when you put it on, because you can't look left or right very easily. Once you're driving, it doesn't matter anyway. But sitting in the car, you go to adjust something and your head gets pulled back.
Can anybody challenge Nigel Mansell's time of 1 minute 33.428, which is 0.5 of a second faster than Fittipaldi? I don't think Patrick Tambay can. That's the man you're watching at the present moment, the ex-Ferrari works driver, who gave me one of the most emotional happenings in my career, when after the great Gilles Villeneuve had been killed at Zolder, Patrick took over his place in the Ferrari team and won the very next race for Ferrari and for Italy. And you could have cut the emotion with a cricket stump. It was absolutely fantastic. Well, Patrick Tambay may not, but Derek Warwick may. Derek Warwick is out at the present moment, although he's got precious few laps left. He's only got 3 laps left, including the one he's on. Nigel has played it very cannily indeed. He's just done 4 laps. He's half a second faster than Fittipaldi as Andrea de Cesaris goes out. All these cars have got distinctive liveries, but they have all got the driver's flag of nationality on the side of the cockpit. So here's Derek.
He's going very gently. I guess he's warming himself up here.
What a career Derek Warwick has had. He is a world super stocks champion. He's a world sports car champion. He has won the Le Mans 24-hour race with his colleagues in the Peugeot car, and he's a long-term Formula One driver. He drove for 13 years in Formula One. First of all for Renault. He nearly won a Grand Prix for Renault in Brazil before he joined the Brabham team. Then he went to Arrows, he went to Lotus. That was after Ayrton Senna had refused to have Derek Warwick in the team with him because he felt that Lotus couldn't produce 2 cars up to race specification, and he may well have been right at the time. But then Derek Warwick retired from racing from the footwork team and has since built up an enormously successful business, and he's one of the principals of the 888 team in the British Touring Car Championship as we watch Christian Danner. Now remember, he was well up earlier on. He's down in 7th place at the present moment, 134.1 compared with 133.4. Nigel Mansell was Danner's fastest time, so he's got to improve by something like 0.6 of a second, 0.7 of a second to go fastest. These cars will do with the right gearing 200 miles an hour. They are not toys, they are not playthings. They're beautiful looking cars in my view. They're very, very strong. They handle beautifully. The drivers are ecstatic about them. I said it before, but it bears saying again.
And also, Murray, when you think what an incredible piece of work it was to get 15 cars here when they didn't start work with 8 guys until September the 5th. I mean, remarkable piece of work by everybody, commitment.
And a colossal commitment by everybody that's involved with the GP Masters Series, because they've had to make a gigantic upfront financial commitment with no guarantee that it's going to be successful. But so evocative are the names here, and the names of people who I am sure are sitting on the fence to watch and wait and see what happens with GP Masters, and who will be pleading with the organisers to be allowed in, that it's going to pay off. Well, Salazar out of the race. That's Nick Carpenter on the left, the man who's designed these cars. And Eliseo doesn't look exactly overjoyed.
No, but as we pointed out, you know, this is only really a second session, and he's had to change cars just before it. It's not easy. These other fellas have been out there a long time this week. He's probably only done 25 laps, and they've probably done 50, 60 laps by now.
Riccardo looks as though he's finished 12 laps, and there's only 6 minutes to go in this first ever qualifying session for a GP Masters race. And Andrea de Cesaris is not too happy about something. I didn't see who it was who he gave that not very friendly wave of the hand to, but I do know who that is. It is Eddie Cheever. He is 8th fastest, overstepping the mark a bit, getting the rear wheels onto the rumble strip and beyond.
It looked like that was de Cesaris in front of him.
Got something very interesting on the track at the present moment. Nigel Mansell with his famous red 5 and Emerson Fittipaldi are together on the circuit, and we've got 5 minutes to go. Now Nigel is protecting his position. He knows he's in a strong position. He knows he's almost home and dry. He knows he's half a second faster than Fittipaldi, but he wants to be out on the track with plenty of laps in hand in case Emerson goes quicker.
And also at the same time, he doesn't want to give anything away to Emerson, so he's not going to be the one leading the way, and he'll sit behind Fittipaldi if he's got any sense and let Emerson pave the way. And if he has a run at it, well then obviously Mansell can follow pretty sharply in hot pursuit.
Andrea de Cesaris, who we're looking at now, his first sector time was 1 minute 20, was 23.164, and that's 0.3 of a second off the fastest driver in that sector. All these cars have got sensors on them to enable the engineers to work out exactly what is happening, and all the drivers are in touch with the pits by radio. Not that that's much help to you on the circuit. It never ceases to amaze me that they can be in control of a car at the speeds they are driving at and still be able to talk to somebody.
No, absolutely. Well, that's the point. But you know, when you're in the cockpit, you're very, very calm indeed, and you do have time to do it. In these, it can't be that easy. But you know, what you're saying to the mechanics and what they're saying to you is of vital importance and can help you go quicker.
Well, De Cesaris, I don't think we'll be doing much chatting at the present moment. He's now on his 12th lap out of the 15 that he can do, so he's still got enough laps in hand to come out, do a quick one, as Nigel Mansell. Now, was that a wave of acknowledgement, or was that a gesture of irritation?
I thought he might be calling Emerson by, because that's what I'd be doing. Perhaps he's just saying I'm number one.
Well, the one thing you can be sure of is that when these drivers are all out of the car, they're going to be like a bunch of school kids with, here is Jacques Laffite in his own car. Incidentally, I think that's the prettiest colour scheme on the circuit. The virtually all silver car. Jacques Laffite driving at his slowest at the present moment with the best time of 1 minute 38.285, 5 seconds off the pace. Can he improve with presumably René Arnoux' seat in his car?
In fact, René Arnoux hasn't done many laps, Murray. He's only actually done 8 laps. You thought he might have done more before he let Jack into his seat.
I think that has to be a new excuse in the driver's excuse book, doesn't it? I wasn't using my own seat.
I noticed yesterday Jacques has some different lines through the corners when we went out on the track and watched them. I find that quite strange. Everybody else has identical lines except for Laffite. He has a much tighter line to the tight corners.
Stand by for action in the closing seconds of the race. We're down to 2 minutes now. Nigel Mansell is making it beyond doubt exactly what is going to happen. He's on his 8th lap out of a possible 15. He has just absolutely blown apart the first sector time. Those no figures come up on our computer which show us what his first sector time was. With just 22.843 seconds. Is he going to go faster in the second sector? We're riding with Mansell now. You are riding with him on what could well be the pole position lap for the first Grand Prix Masters. Well, he's down a bit on that sector time, 40.4 compared with 40.1, which was the fastest we have had. But watch a master, a Grand Prix master at whoops, Nigel, up to Clubhouse. Now he's building, comes out of the last corner, and his target time is 1 minute 33.4.
Not bad, Murray, 33.5.
Terrific. So he's just a tenth slower, and that you could have seen the reason for that as the back of the car just stepped out. He's going through the kink here on our slow motion replay, and that's Chloe, his daughter, worried about what Dad has just done. Well, what Dad has just done, because we now have 40 seconds to go, and every one of Nigel Mansell's laps this afternoon behind that famous number red 5 were good enough for pole position for tomorrow's Grand Prix Masters at Kyalami. He is 0.5 of a second, half a second faster than the great Emerson Fittipaldi. So The two world champions, because Alan Jones sadly will not be competing tomorrow, start from the front row of the starting grid tomorrow. What an absolutely incredible, emotional situation. Nigel Mansell, 52 years old. Emerson Fittipaldi, 58 years old. Both great American champions too. Riccardo Patrese, Nigel Mansell, there he is. Riccardo Patrese, Nigel Mansell's Williams teammate, starts from third, and Jan Lammers, the Dutchman, is fourth, ahead of Andrea de Cesaris, fifth. Derek Warwick is in sixth position. Christian Danner is seventh. Eddie Cheever is eighth, and completing the top 10, Hans Stuck and Stefan Johansson, who has not gone, Stefan, nearly as well as I expected him to. But all in all, Derek, a super qualifying session.
Well, it was historic, wasn't it, Murray?
Yep.
And nobody went off. We had a bit of a wild slide there from Danner, but nobody overdid it. Absolutely remarkable, very controlled, and just shows professionalism of these star drivers.
Yeah,
and how they deserve their world championships.
And to show you how hard they were trying, between Jan Lammers and Andrea de Cesaris, who were respectively fourth and fifth, there was 4/1000th of a second. And between Andrea de Cesaris, who was fifth, and Derek Warwick, who was in sixth position, there's 1,000. So there's 5,000th of a second covering the fourth, fifth and sixth places. Is that good, or is that good?
I think it was fairly close.
Well done, Nigel. Everybody expected it of you, but it wasn't necessarily going to happen, as they remove the collar which goes around all the drivers to prevent their heads swaying too much. It didn't help poor Alan Jones very much, of course.
Well, of course, it doesn't stop it going backwards and forwards. It only supports it from kind of getting out of control and side laterally, in fact.
So there's an indication. I've been emphasising all the time that the cars are identical in terms of engine, in terms of horsepower, in terms of torque, in terms of chassis. They've all got steel brakes, they've all got slick Avon tyres of the same compound. So in the end analysis, it was going to be the driver who was fastest who was going to take pole position. Nigel Mansell is the man. But the question for tomorrow is how fit and how able to go 50 minutes over this very demanding Kyalami circuit is Emerson Fittipaldi going to be. He's older than Mansell. He's carrying the results of a bad injury from Michigan and then a flying accident afterwards. That is Emerson Fittipaldi, double world champion for Lotus in 1972 and then for McLaren in 1974. Riccardo Patrese, that is, I think, an excellent performance, because he is only 0.6 of a second slower than Nigel Mansell in third place. But Jan Lammers is only 4/100ths of a second slower than Patrese. These are the sort of gaps you expect to see in Formula One. Not a lot of what people thought were old chaps.
No, there's no mistaking. I mean, look at the way they're driving. It's great to see the car without the modern paraphernalia on them, driving their heart out. And of course showing this, the stunning ability they have, and we're seeing it just as you would have seen it 10, 15 years ago. Look at this, isn't this great? The two of them here, embracing each other after that incredible session. Great stuff.
Well, they are great mates, and again, this is something I want to emphasise about Grand Prix Masters. These drivers are having fun. They really are. They're talking to each other. They're joking with each other. They're eating with each other. And they're all comparing notes about how they went, and there's how they went this afternoon. The man, the Union flag alongside his name is Nigel Mansell. Then with the Brazilian flag alongside him, Fittipaldi. From Italy, Riccardo Patrese. From Holland, Jan Lammers. From Italy, Andrea de Cesaris. So Italy has got two drivers in the top five. Britain, with Derek Warwick in sixth position, has got two drivers in the top six. Germany for Christian Danner, seventh. Eddie Cheever from America. Hans Stuck is ninth from Germany. Stefan Johansson, Sweden, is 10th. So a great spread, and from first to last, hear this, from first to last, 3.5 seconds. I think So let's hear from the top three in qualifying and Amanda Stretton.
Well, it's an absolute bun fight down here, let me tell you. But first of all, Nigel, that was fantastic. It was just so reminiscent of old days. Obviously a bit of strategizing had been going on.
We had a boxing match on the last qualifying. I didn't want him following me and seeing my lines, and he didn't want me following him. So Emma and I had a great laugh on the last qualifying. It was, but it was an awesome lap I put together. I slid it around the first, second, and third turn, and I hope they got it on telly because there was nothing left in the car, nothing left on the track. It was just one of those perfect laps.
A very dominant lap time as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was lucky the tyres came in. I hit them hard. The first set I hit hard on the first lap and just went for the lap. And I think that was probably the best. The next time I went out and got caught up with Emma, and I ended up doing a couple of warm-up laps, a third lap, and I messed my tyres up a bit, but we had a lot of fun. He messed his up as well. It was fun.
Thank you, Nigel. Now, Emerson, having the two of you on pole and second position, I mean, it just could not get any better for the start, and you're grinning from ear to ear as well. Is all this experience going to pay off? Are you actually going to be able to beat Nigel?
Well, it could be a very tough race. The last sets of tires I had, I saw Nigel, so I'm going to follow Nigel. He back off, I back off, he back off. And I lost my quick lap. And it didn't happen, but I mean, I want to congratulate Nigel and Riccardo for doing a great job. I'm very proud to be here with all these great champions. And it'll be a great show tomorrow. I mean, we're going to drive as hard as we always drove. I mean, qualify today was coming right on the edge.
But you've obviously been enjoying it. The three of you have been having so much fun down here.
Wow, it's so much fun. I think everybody, the three of us and the other drivers. I mean, it's great to be together, and I think it'll be a great show. I mean, we're going to be driving very hard, and I'm not going to give easy time to Nigel tomorrow, for sure.
Good. I hope not.
I'll be very big on his mirrors.
And finally, Riccardo. Now, you've had probably one of the longest careers in Formula One in terms of years. You're going to have an awful lot of work keeping up with these two. Are you just going to be waiting for your chance?
Well, of course, I start to enjoy as the past this sport. I left for more than 10 years Formula cars, but now I'm back, and I'm surprised that I'm still quick, and I'm happy for that. But okay, we are three. The best are here, but I have to point out that the gap between Emerson and the guy behind us is only 1/10. It's very competitive, really very, very competitive. It's going to be a fantastic race, I think, because it's true that we are the first three, but if you look the times behind me, is only hundreds between us. So really, everybody in this series, it looks to be really very competitive and very aggressive. I tell you, I wanted to come here to relax a little bit, but the pressure is on really much.
Now, obviously, none of you have lost your racing spirit.
No, it looks like no. I thought that we could be good friends, having a nice dinner and so on, but it looks like that no, we are here really to compete, because in effect you can see this qualifying session was as it was 20 years ago. Everybody was trying maximum, and you can see from the time that we are really, all of us, very competitive.
Well done, thank you.
Well, those top three drivers, between them, have got 47 years of Grand Prix racing. Literally hundreds of Grand Prix, because Riccardo Patrese, on the right there, who's third fastest, has driven in more Grand Prix than any other driver in the history of Formula One. 256 of them. You're looking at his very pretty motor car now, which is exactly the same as all of the rest of them, compared except for the livery. And that's a very famous helmet of Riccardo's, the white with the blue bands. And he's done a great time. He's done a great meeting so far. What are your impressions?
Well, obviously, I mean, to see all these guys out there enjoying themselves, but as we all say, you know, when the flag drops, the nonsense stops, and you're going to see all this tomorrow, but they're super competitive, but as you said earlier, Murray, there is no politics there, and that's what it's all about, to see them looking at each other.
Vielen Dank, Jacques. Schnell, das sind Sie wirklich noch, die alten Herren, wenn ich das so sagen darf. Da wird morgen im Rennen sicher die eine oder andere alte Rivalität so richtig wieder hervorkommen, wenn Sie Lust haben. auf ein ganz besonderes Rennen mit ganz viel Formel 1 Vergangenheit. Wir übertragen dieses Rennen live auf Premiere. Das erste Rennen der GP Masters live hier aus Kyalami in Südafrika. Unsere Übertragung, die beginnt um 12:30 Uhr. Ich wünsche Ihnen jetzt noch einen schönen Samstagnachmittag. Bis morgen. Tschüss.